So welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris and I'm a gorilla in the wrist. Today we're looking at this Proxima PX1734, my first Proxima, and asking the question, does it live up to the hype? Let's find out, shall we? So controversially, we're going to start off by just going through the detailed specifications. So it has a very decent dial width at 39mm, the lug to lug on a square watch is slightly unusual at 45, 18mm lug width, going to come back to that, has a thickness of 11mm and houses the Seiko VK64 movement, weighs in at a paltry 70 grams, has 100 meters of water resistance and a particularly nice flat sapphire crystal. Before we got into the pros and cons of this one, we'll do a quick run around the watch. Clearly very heavily 70s inspired TV style watch. Chronograph, I picked it up I think in the 11/11 sale and paid less than £70 for it, which for a Proxima seemed a very decent price. I think at 39mm I think it's really wearable, which I think is a positive thing. The dial is beautiful. I mean, it's hard to argue anything against the dial. But let's just do a quick round. So we have a tachymeter, sort of internal bezel all the way around it. We have a black rally style leather strap. The hardware's a bit unusual, I have to say the least. So we have a brushed top, but almost the lugs of the hardware are high polished. You can see that very well. And when you flip it over, the back side of it is quite high polished as well. No branding. I was a little surprised at that. In fact, apart from the dial, there isn't any branding on this at all. So there's no branding on the back of the leather strap. Nothing to say Proxima on it at all. Beautiful red fume dial. We have a second track all the way around the outside. That is split into, I'll show you, that is split into quarter sects as well. We have fairly basic fence post style hands. We have two subdials, so the one on the left is the chrono minutes and the subdial on the right is the 24-hour indicator. It's a chronograph, so there isn't a second hand on this one, but there is the chronograph second hand. We have battens everywhere where there isn't either a date complication or a subdial, so they're around. We have Proxima above the pinion and chronograph below the pinion, and then this beautiful red fading out into black fume dial, which is really good. Now there were two options that you could buy, so I'll put them up in the corner up there, just so you can see what the options. In terms of the finishing, there's a high polish around the sort of tachymeter bezel. The rest of the case is all brushed, finished, so the sort of the flat of the case is brushed. There is quite a nice, I'm trying to see if you can see it. There is quite a nice chamfered edge there all the way around, and the lugs have this slightly strange, it's hard to sort of demi-octagonal look to them, with the black leather strap, which has quick release spring bars, but the black leather strap fixing into the bottom, so the lugs don't come all the way through the side. As you say, it kind of affixes it to the bottom. And there's just a little bit of a spec sheet on the back. Water resistance 100 meters, stainless steel, sapphire crystal, tachymeter. And I think that was the only bit I didn't mention, is that the mineral is sapphire crystal. And it's very good. Not a huge amount of anti-reflective coating on it, but actually the visibility in the watch is pretty good. So that doesn't necessarily cause a huge problem. As mentioned, it's a chronograph, has the VK64 movement in it, perfectly reliable, not had any issues at all. 100 meters of water resistance, so the case back is clearly screwed down. Crown itself is also screwed down, but the pushers aren't. So what are my gripes with this one? Well, we'll start with a fairly basic one, is that the advert said it had 20mm lugs, and they're not, they're 18mm lugs. So let's start with factual inaccuracy, which I think is disappointing. I did buy this from the Proxima official store, and so I'm a bit surprised that that's the case. The second thing that I'm not a really big fan of, and I did allude to this when I kind of did the run around the watch, is it's just the way that the watch strap kind of fits in to the lugs underneath. Now, I'm sure it's period appropriate and this is how we did it in the 70s, but it just I keep looking at this watch thinking there's something not quite right with it, and I hadn't been able to put my finger on it until earlier on. And it's that position of the lugs. It kind of looks like the watch is sitting on the strap rather than as you know, that the strap is on the watch. And what I thought of earlier, and the thing it reminded me of was, I have a square G-Shock, and I got some of those cheapy adapters just so that I could sling it on a nylon. And when I put them on and put the strap on, I mean, it worked fine, but it just made the watch itself sit up very proud away from the strap. And this looks exactly the same. Now, it may not be showing it because of how I'm doing it, but when you wear it, that's how it wears. And it's just, it doesn't look right. Not to my eyes, but it just looks weird. So I do not like that you get to the bottom of the lugs here, and then it cuts straight in for about 3mm, and then you have the bracelet coming down. The strap, sorry. It's just, I can't think of another way of describing it other than it looks half-baked. It looks like somebody has thrown a strap on and thought, that'll do. That's a black strap, that's a nice rally strap, goes with the style, the 70s vibe and all of that. And it doesn't work. The watch is on, it's the wrong size strap. Now, I think what it probably needed was it needed one of those straps that they have on the Casio watches that kind of come out, that meet the lug so that the lug kind of then flows in. But it doesn't flow at all. And for me, that makes it a bit of a fugly bug, to be absolutely honest. It doesn't do it for me at all. Am I getting across to you how much I dislike the look of this? I am really pissed off, I have to say. That's enough. I guess the final thing is that the loom is okay. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. And maybe at this price of the watch, that's probably reasonable. So I'm going to park my moaning and talk about some of the things that I like about this watch. So the first thing I do look is the dial. I mean, there is no getting away from it. This is a handsome beast. And to be honest with you, if you could wear it like that, then I'd have absolutely no complaints about it. But I can't do anything other than admire the dial. I think we said it before, I do love a bit of a vintage vibe. I'm a 70s child, so I guess it probably reaches in somewhere. But the colouring is spectacular. I love that fume style. The tachymeter bezel is really good. I do slightly bemoan the lack of running seconds. So that's the first thing, and it is the star of the show for this one, and the dial is lovely. The second thing that I do like, and I kind of have to recognise, is that actually the quality of the finish on this watch, apart from the inability to identify where lugs should go, apart from that, the actual quality of the finish on the case is very good. So it's got a really nice high polish around that bezel, but back to a sort of really decent brushed look on the sides and on the top of the case. And as I say, it does have a really nice, really well defined chamfered edge, all of which is very good. And again, back to a combination of brushed and polished on the back of the case. I can't take away the quality of the finishing on this. It is very, very good. So, at the start of the video I asked the question, does this watch live up to the expectation that I have for the brand? which was based on watching many other YouTube reviews and having a good look on AliExpress, and actually having been quite impressed with what I'd seen, and actually the amount of love that other reviewers that I respect have given to this brand. But this one doesn't do it. I'm sorry, this one does not live up to that reputation. I mean, I love the dial, the finishing is very good, but it's just buck ugly. The way it's been put on this strap is just an atrocity. And again, apologies if you have this watch and you love it. That's fantastic. Enjoy it. Ignore my ignorant comments. But for me, this is just doesn't do it. Now, I'm not going to just say on the basis of one example that I didn't like, I'm condemning the brand. Clearly, that would be foolish. So I will try and get another one in and see if maybe this was just the runt of the litter, shall we say. And there may be better things out there. So that's it for today. It's late Saturday afternoon. The sun has been out all day and it's just heading off over the horizon. Have a fantastic weekend wherever you are. Lots more content to come. I keep saying I've got loads more to do. So that's it for today. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. I look forward to seeing you back very soon.